and on we'll go.
Five things I wish I knew before I became a flight attendant. If you're new to the channel, my name is Princella. I am a New York-based flight attendant working with a major US airline company, and I have been flying or been on the line for almost 2 years now. And in today's video, yes, as the title indicates, I will be talking about some of the things I wish I knew before I actually joined this career or this industry to become a flight attendant. And I know on my channel, I do talk about flight attendant pay among other things, right? And the job as a whole. The job may seem glamorous on the outside, and I know a lot of people see being a flight attendant as their dream job. This is what they want. This is what they want to do. But one thing I do ultimately want to say is that this job is not for everyone. And if you view it as a job, then you will potentially struggle. I think in the long term, what makes other people who have remained in this industry for so long is the fact that they view it as a career. Becoming a flight attendant to an extent becomes part of their identity. It becomes like part of them. And I feel like with the way this work is, you have to potentially get to that point. It might not necessarily define you or be the only thing, your only essence in existence, but I feel like to a large extent you have to see it as being part of you. You have to view it as a career, not something you're just doing just to make money or just to get by, right? I personally, although I enjoy the job, I wish I knew the extent to which these things would go. These are some of the factual things that honestly became apparent once I got on the line. The first thing is pay. If you've been on my channel, I talk about flight attendant pay all the time. I'm very transparent about pay, and I literally have a video where I talk about the full breakdown of flight attendant pay. I have a full playlist in the description box below about flight attendant pay, so do check it out. We don't get fully paid for our time. Let's say you're on a 3-day trip, right? And you clock in at 7 a.m. in the morning. You sign in at 7 a.m. in the morning, and you get released on your 3rd day at 7 a.m. Essentially, although you're away for about 3 days, your hourly pay of, let's say, $40 is not going to be calculated on the total amount of hours that makes up between 7 a.m. on Monday to 7 a.m. on Wednesday. Although you are technically getting paid for the time away from your original base, which is where you started your flight, only the flying that you're doing is what you're getting paid for based on your hourly pay. Your layovers, the time you're spending waiting, sitting at the airport, all that time, you're only getting paid your layover pay, which is usually below $3, okay, an hour. So essentially, even though you are on duty, you literally cannot just go home in the middle of a 3-day trip and say, okay, I have a 64-hour layover, let me just non-rev or fly standby to visit a friend in a different state or whatever. You're still on duty, because they can literally change your trip at any point in time. So even though your time is being taken from you, you're not getting compensated fully for that time. Us going through security to show up and do all that stuff, the pay, we're not getting paid for all those things, right? And although it hasn't been a deal breaker for me, it is a deal breaker for many, because if you're coming from a typical 9 to 5 where immediately you clock in at 9 o'clock, you're getting paid until you clock out and then you're done. So when you enter this career, it's a shocker, because you think about it, I'm away for like literally 72 hours and I'm only getting paid my hourly pay of $40 at only 15 hours or 17 hours. That doesn't make any sense, right? So that's some of the realities when it comes to pay. Your time is not yours. Once you sign in, you are at the mercy of the company. Delays can happen, reroutes can happen, your rotation can be turned upside down, twisted, stepped on, thrown out the window, right? And although you're not, that's where the conflict comes in, right? I don't know if you guys get me. So on one hand, you're not necessarily getting paid your hourly pay for every single minute, every single hour you spend being on duty. However, your time is not also yours either when you're on duty. So it's one of those things where it's like, what is going on? Like I can't reconcile both situations because it's like, if you're not going to pay my hourly pay, then I should have the freedom to be able to do whatever I want on my time. But then I still can't do it. Your time is literally not yours. You can literally have vacation, right, planned after a trip, and you can be flown into your vacation time or your time off or whatever it is. And I get it. You might be compensated for it. Maybe they'll give you back your vacation time, pay you, whatever it is. At the end of the day, I have my vacation on that day for a reason. I didn't pick a vacation time for that day only for it to be taken away from me because you chose to work me into my time off, right? So it's one of those things where it's frustrating. Getting time off is difficult. You know how you work at a regular job and if you're on vacation, you just tell your boss, hey, I'm requesting for vacation or time off for this time. And then boom, if feasible you would get it, among other things. That's not how it works here. Beyond operational needs, which is typical for every job, aside that, even the time asking for vacation time or time off is so complex. It's a whole bidding system between seniority, those senior and those junior. Like it goes through a hierarchy, right? It's more complex than the average person might expect it to be. So for me, I did not know that it was going to be cartwheels situation before you could get vacation time. So at this point, I don't even bid for vacation time, and there's several rounds of them, and it's like, this cannot be this difficult. Why is this so complicated? Can we simplify this whole process? I'm already struggling to figure out my bids and my trips, among other things. We can leave vacation time for another day. I know I've spoken on my channel about this job giving you flexibility. Yes, and yes, and yes. In theory, it does. And trust and believe it does. However, the reality is that things are changing, right? The needs of people, other flight attendants are changing. And the flexibility, it's dependent on being able to swap with other flight attendants and being able to swap with the system, right? So if a lot of people are choosing not to work, then there's really not a lot of people out there willing to pick up trips from you as a flight attendant, willing to swap with the system, so the trip that you want potentially might fall on the platform of the system. So it's one of those things where flexibility doesn't really exist, right? Is it really a true flexibility? It's just so many factors that go against it, but I wish I had a better understanding of how true the flexibility held water, in the sense that, is it seasonal? I ultimately did this job, aside from being able to travel around the world to literally no cost at all, I chose this job because it gave me the ability to be flexible with my schedule. So it's one of those things where I feel like it requires finesse, but I honestly wish as a flight attendant that I knew how, to what extent this flexibility was real, because I see people complain all the time about needing specific time off. They bid for them, they never get them, try to get people to pick up the trips, and they don't, right? So if you're out there and you're thinking of becoming a flight attendant, think twice, because like I said, your time is not yours, especially if you're a commuter. It sucks, because it's like, I wish for commuters they gave us positive space flight, as in assigned seat on a plane once a month or something that we could use to get to and from work per every person that commutes, right? But I wish they would do something like that, because in my opinion, you guys always market this job as, hey, you can live anywhere in the world and be able to do this job, so you might as well make it convenient for all of us. That said, the last thing that I do want to talk about as a flight attendant, fairly new, that I wish I knew before I became one, is that duty days can be very difficult sometimes, can be very long and very difficult. I remember somewhere during the summer, there was just so much going on, guys, and long story short, we got delayed multiple times. These delays are rolling delays, so it's like, it's one of those delays that every hour the time of the flight gets pushed back. Every hour it changes, so you don't know how long you will be sitting at the airport, but the next thing you know, you're sitting at the airport for like over 8 hours because of this rolling delay. Our max duty days, I believe, like 15 hours in a minute. It is exhausting, guys. It is really exhausting. That altitude changes, all the factors that go against us when it comes to this job. Having such long duty days can be very taxing and tiring on your body, and I wish I knew that. I mean, I had an idea that I'll be flying for a living, but I guess I did not have a better or good understanding of how long duty days could be, right? I didn't expect that I could be on duty for 15 hours straight. The longest I've done when it comes to work was 10 hours in a day, but I've never done 12, 13, 14, 15 hours. And looking at what we do, moving from one airport to the other, hopping on one plane and the other, 15 hours can be a lot. So yeah, I wish I knew that. That potentially might have been something to think about. Potentially not necessarily a deal breaker for me to become a flight attendant, but the honest truth was that it would have at least made me think twice about the job. The experience that I was talking about from during the summer, we got so delayed back and forth here and there. And then eventually when we got to the hotel, also the hotel we were sent to, they had no rooms for us. They were practically overbooked, and we were sent there anyway, and we shouldn't have, because they were told, the people in the back end of our company were told that they didn't have rooms for us, but they sent us there anyway. So it was frustrating, and then you're sitting there 2 a.m. in the morning trying to get a room, hungry, so you end up having your dinner in the lobby because your lead is trying to call whoever they can call to get this thing figured out. So then that essentially prolongs your duty day, because until I'm behind a door, the hotel room door in my room, I'm still on duty. I'm hoping that moving forward during their event day and stuff like that, they're more honest and open about how long and how complicated and understand how stressful duty days can be. I know I try to keep a positive vibe on this channel when it comes to this job, not necessarily because I'm oblivious to the negatives associated with or the cons associated with this job, but I feel like at the end of the day, there are cons and there are pros. So let's be honest and talk about both. So in today's video, I'm sharing with you all some of the things that I wish I knew before I became a flight attendant on the negative side, right? But let me know your thoughts on the question. If you're currently a flight attendant, how was your experience? What are some of the things you wish you knew before you signed on that dotted line and said, yes, I want to do this? If you're considering being a flight attendant, please take these things into consideration. Birthdays, holidays, they're not yours, my friend. They're not yours, especially when you're new. Yeah, if you like to celebrate those days and those days are dear to your heart, be ready to miss some holidays and birthdays for sure. But I'm going to end it here. I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.